In this video, we're going to be checking out the Meepo Flow and do an extreme review where we take it to skate parks and push this board to its absolute limit. Anyway, let's get ourselves straight to the video. So I just want to say that Meepo did send this board over to me for review, but this is not a paid review. All reviews on my channel are unbiased and not censored in any way.
It's like people only do things because they get paid. And that's just really sad.
Anyway, let's get ourselves straight to the review. So I've actually had this board for about 2 to 3 weeks at this point now, and I've done some kind of extreme testing of this board. Always on the channel, we try to push these boards to the absolute limit. So I've been taken to like skate parks, group rides, we've done demos, and a variety of different things to kind of get not just my opinion, but the public's opinion as well. So let's get ourselves into the specs of this board. First of all, talking about the deck. So let's first talk about the elephant in the room, and yes, it does look like a Evolve Stoke, but for me that's where the comparison ends, and I feel like it doesn't actually benefit the Meepo Flow in any way looking like an Evolve Stoke. So I've actually had this board for about a month at this point, and I've actually used it kind of like a daily driver for the last month, using it for all kind of circumstances. So one thing I wanted to do with this board is really kind of test how strong it was, or how beneficial it was. So I actually went out and done some skating in a skate park with an electric skateboard to see if it was actually possible, and surprisingly it was an absolute ripper. I was absolutely blown away that you could kind of take the banks really nice and high, pump it, and have some really nice fun with the board. Now the deck is made out of a 2-ply fiberglass, 2-ply bamboo, and 5-ply Canadian maple deck. So one thing I want to mention about the deck is actually not a short deck or a massive deck, it's kind of like an in-betweeny deck. So this is kind of like a larger short board, if that makes sense. And there's one thing that blew me away straight away, it's actually not really a small board. So for people like me who are a little bit larger and a little bit bigger, and you still want like a short board without an absolute tank being with you, this could be an option as like a daily driver commuter board, as a smaller board but with the power to go with it. Another thing I want to say is that the glass frit on this deck is really nice and grippy. Now the board has a sandblasted grip tape on it with a black EVA padded tail on it. Now there has been sandblasted clear grit on boards in the past, but I've always noticed they kind of wear out really fast, and then they kind of are stuck in that situation where you have to put regular grip tape on this. But one thing, the grip on this board is actually held up really well. The next thing I want to talk about is the battery specification. One thing I want to say about the battery for this board is actually using really good quality cells. They're using 21700 monocell P42s, which I know is really good quality cells. And I was actually surprised to see that quality of cell in a smaller board. It's also rocking the battery in a 12S 2P configuration. Now for me, I am absolutely in love with a 12S or higher board nowadays. I think the 10S batteries are fine, they're okay, but simply just putting the voltage up just ever so slightly to a 12S really makes a significant difference. And what that does is it gives you a really good battery size and a really good watt hour for your board. Now the battery on the Meepo Flow is a 362 watt hour battery. Now one thing I want to say about the Meepo Flow battery is that it is consistent the whole way across the battery. So what I mean by that is some boards I've used in the past where the percentages goes down to like 20%, 30%, and it just simply becomes unusable. Now the Meepo Flow seems to be consistent over the entire battery percentage. So at 100%, 50%, 30%, whatever it needs to be, it will be consistent over the whole way. So you won't be having this massive drop off like a cliff battery, and it seems to be reliable the whole way across. Now I think for me, the 12S 2P battery for a travel board or a smaller board is the kind of perfect number for me. It's not too massive where it's gonna be an absolute tank, and it's not too small where you feel like it's an underpowered board. With this 12S2, it's an absolute cream Goldilocks fact with the battery size, and I think it's really good choice for Meepo. So for me, really good, well done. So obviously we're talking about the battery, and next thing we're going to talk about is the range. Now the advertised range for the board is 24 miles or 38 kilometers in distance. So I've been testing the board how I ride it, obviously the max settings with hard riding the whole time and with a heavier, larger rider. And I've been getting about 15 miles out of the board. Now one thing I want to make note about that is a really good number for a travel board because it all comes down to how you use it. For me, I am nothing but thrilled when I've gone out riding all day and I come home and the board's on 0. That is the perfect battery size for a board. So for me, I feel like Meepo have chosen a really perfect battery size and watt hour for this board. So for me, I think it's absolutely perfect. Now the reason why this battery seems to be really, really good is for the charger that comes with it. It comes with a 4.5 amp charger straight out of the box. And with that 12S 2P battery, you're getting a really good charge time of around 2 hours. For me, that is perfect. 2 hours charge time to get yourself up to full charge on 12S2, absolutely perfect. So I'm really happy they've shipped the board with a really, really good charger. And for me, come out with a UK plug. So big bonus points for me. So the next thing I want to talk about is the motors for the board. The motors on this board is absolutely perfect. They're not absolutely gargantuous where they're going to be overkill, super heavy, and obviously not harnessing the power of the battery, or really, really dinky where you're going to overheat them in 5 minutes. I've gone out riding this board and not once has it overheated on me at all. Not once. It's been super smooth the whole way through. Now the motors on this board are a pair of two 2,519 watt motors each. So one thing I want to say about these motors is that they never failed on me once. And what I mean by that is they never overheated, they never were unreliable, and it gave me a really good consistent speed the whole way through. So with these motors, I was able to get a top speed around 24 miles an hour on the board. Now for me, that's absolutely fine, absolutely consistent. Doesn't need to be any faster than that. On a short board with that smaller wheelbase, that's pretty much what you want at the board. Now, please make note, like I said earlier in the video, I am a heavier rider, so this will affect the top speed. Now the advertised top speed of this board is around 34 miles an hour. I was never going to get that speed, and I don't really see that an average rider will be able to get those top speeds, but for me, I wouldn't want to be going that fast on this kind of size board. I think where I got about 23, 24 miles an hour, that's absolutely perfect for me. That's the kind of speed I want to be getting out of a smaller board. Next thing I want to talk about is the wheels and trucks on the board. Now the wheels on this board are 105mm by 65mm street wheels. So one thing I like about these wheels is that they're not tiny little 90mm rock hard street wheels. With those 105s, that larger wheel, you're able to get obviously those higher speeds on the board. And with that kind of like core design where the holes are inside the wheels, it gives you a really nice soft and comfortable ride. The one thing that's good about having these wheels on this board is that it's able to improve the ride feeling. Now one thing about these wheels is that they are a larger wheel base for a shorter deck. Most of these short boards we seem to have on the channel are like 90mm, maybe 95, and definitely not a 105 wheel. And the reason for that is because they are so much shorter and they don't have the clearance to supply these 105 wheels. Now these 105 wheels I've been using for all terrains. There's one thing I've kind of realized with street wheels nowadays is I don't want to have a street wheel that I feel like I have to be looking down the whole time, worrying about what I'm riding and feeling like I'm going to die any second on hitting any pothole in the road. Now what these wheels do, they give you a nice, soft, cushiony ride. So what I mean by that is you haven't got to worry about every single pothole in the road, you haven't got to look down the whole time, stressing out. You can simply be you and the ride, enjoying yourself the whole time. So overall, I'm so impressed that Meepo has been able to put this larger wheel on the board because I feel like it makes the entire difference of the board. Now the trucks on this board are a double kingpin design and actually ships with 100A bushings as well. So that kind of gives you a really nice solid harder bushings to start off with. And I really liked the way that you can kind of customize the board on how you want to ride it. So what I mean by that is the benefit of a double kingpin setup is that you can tune the board however you want. And having the kind of universal double kingpin design, you can be upgrading your bushings to any other bushings you want. So you kind of can make your board your own, which I really really like. So one thing I want to say about the trucks is that I really like the fact you can kind of customize it to how you want. Now that is the benefit of the double kingpin design, because you can tune it up and make it harder on the lower end or the higher end and kind of configure the board however you want. And the benefit of having the double kingpin design is there's so many options of different bushings out there. So if you want to tune the board to be slightly different and have the board in your own way, you have that option out the box as well. But I would like to say that the 100A durometer bushings that come with the board are absolutely solid, no problems for me. The only thing I would like to say that did annoy me is that it's hard to get the skate tool on both of the parts of the truck. So you do actually have to remove one to get to the other one, which I felt a little bit annoying. But to be fair, once you've got it tuned up to how you like it, you're never going to touch it again. So it's just a mild inconvenience. So it didn't really bother me too much, but it's a bit one thing I wanted to mention in the review. So the next thing I want to talk about is the remote. Now the remote on this board is really nice and clear. It gives you all the information that you need at all times. And also with the remote, at a small glance, you can see what mode you're riding in, and you can configure the board in your own preference. So with those 4 different speed modes and the 4 different brake curves on the remote, at an easy glance, you can see what battery your remote is on, the battery of the board, and what speed and range and distance you've done the board at all times. Absolutely solid, does exactly what it needs to do with that thumb wheel design, nice and clear, no mucking about, just does what it needs to do. Another thing, which is always a plus for me, it does have full reverse. So 2 simple clicks and you can turn the board and go full reverse. I actually went to demo this for a few guys and I didn't actually have it set in the right mode and I ended up flooring it the wrong way and falling down. I'm all right now, but yeah, I marked my arm up by mucking about. But yeah, full reverse is great fun. So if you want to be pumping the board, it gives you really good options to kind of go full reverse, 180, whatever you want to do, and kind of push this board to its absolute limit. Now, additional notes I want to talk about from having this board over this 3-week review. Now, I've obviously taken this out for some extreme testing. I've taken out to skate parks. So one thing I was able to do is actually take it out to an EUC group ride. And believe it or not, I was able to keep up with those riders and stay with them for most of the time when we went out. One thing they did, they went to a local skate park and I was able to shred the park and kind of mix with a different group trying out the board. So I was actually impressed that I felt really confident with the board to ride it at higher speeds and it had enough range to kind of take part in other events. So one thing with the battery and the power and the configuration, you could use this for group rides as well. It's not limiting when you've got a short board and you can't take it out for events or group rides because you're going to run out of range. This has got a really good power and good range where you can keep up with other riders as well. So that's what I like about the Meepo Flow. It's not restricted with the limitations of a short board. It's a short board plus more, if that makes sense. So one thing I want to say about the kicktail that I really liked is the fact that you can kind of kick it up and do manuals and fun tricks like that. And the reason why you can do that is because it actually has an incorporated bash guard as well. So you can be protecting those motors if you're going to be doing manuals or hopping off curbs or kind of like using it in an extreme manner. So I was obviously using it at skate park and stuff like that, and I was confident that I would have the clearance and control to hit the banks, hit the pumps, and just have a bit of fun with the board. So there's my summary of the Meepo Flow, and I want to say I'm absolutely gobsmacked with the quality that Meepo is pumping out at the moment right now. One thing I want to say is that this is not a tiny travel board that you're about to take on a plane. It's much more than that. It has higher power, it has better range, and it has a really good build quality at an outstanding price. So one thing I'm going to do, I'm definitely going to be keeping this board as a daily driver that I'll be using in the foreseeable future. I had absolute fun using the board in skate parks, hitting off curbs, and like I said in the review, the wheels are fantastic, the build quality is outstanding, and I think overall this is an absolute solid shorter board if you're looking for kind of like a daily driver, pop to shops board. And for me, I think Meepo's knocked it out of the park at this board, and I think I'm really impressed with the quality that they've made. So there's the summary. So if you found this interesting, this video, please drop a like. If you enjoy this content and you want to see more, subscribe for more content. And if there's any other shortboards that you'd recommend or want to see in the channel, please comment below and I'll reach out and see if we can get some more footage on the channel. So overall, I'll say thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for more content, comes out on a regular basis, and I'll see you lovely people on the next one. Peace.